Determine the left-sided limit and the right-sided limit and the two-sided limit as x approaches 0 of x squared minus 5 over x cubed plus x squared. Each of these involves the limit as x approaches 0 of x squared minus 5 over x cubed plus x squared. The first thing to do is try plugging a 0 in for each of the x's. That will give 0 squared minus 5 over 0 cubed plus 0 squared. 0 squared is a 0, minus 5 over 0 cubed is a 0, plus 0 squared is a 0. 0 minus 5 is a negative 5. 0 plus 0 is 0. The 0 in the denominator is not actually 0 since x is only approaching 0 here, doesn't actually reach it. The limit result of a non-zero number over 0 is a positive infinity or negative infinity. The sign of the infinity often depends on the side the limit approaches from, so it will be necessary to work out the two one-sided limits separately here. We have the left-sided limit indicated by the negative superscript on the 0. And the right-sided limit indicated by the positive superscript on 0. Let's start with the left-sided limit. The first thing to do is factor the denominator so we can see the factor that's making the 0 in the denominator. The numerator never needs to be factored. There's an x squared that factors out in the denominator, leaving behind an x and a plus 1. X is approaching 0 here, so the factor that's making 0 is that factor right there, which is x, and then it's being squared. We're approaching from the left side of 0, which means we have a negative number, though it is approaching 0. Now that 0 can plug in for all x's, giving 0 squared minus 5 in the numerator. We just have to analyze the factor that's making the 0 in the denominator. We're to the left side of 0, so it will be a negative number, but then it is approaching 0, and then have that squared, and then plug 0 in for all remaining x's. In the numerator, 0 squared is 0 minus 5. In the denominator, negative 0 squared will become a positive 0. We want to follow the sign that the 0 has on it, and then 0 plus 1 is a positive 1. 0 minus 5 is a negative 5. A positive times a positive is a positive, and 0 times 1 is a 0. A negative over a positive is a negative, and a non-zero over a 0 is an infinity in a limit. The result of the left-sided limit is negative infinity. We can work out the right-sided limit in a similar fashion. Factor the denominator so we can see the factor that is making the 0. Again, it's the x squared. Plug 0 in for all x's that are not making the 0 in the denominator. And where the 0 is being made, we analyze it according to the side. We're to the right side of 0 here, so we're a positive number. It'll go in as a positive, but it's approaching to 0. The sign of that 0 matters. It's not really a 0, it's just approaching it. 0 squared in the numerator is a 0, minus 5, over a positive 0 squared. Positive squared is still positive, and 0 squared is 0. A 0 plus 1 is a positive 1. In the numerator is a negative 5. In the denominator, positive times positive is a positive, and a 0 times 1 is a 0. A negative over a positive is a negative. A non-zero over a 0 is an infinity in a limit. And the right-sided limit also comes out to negative infinity. The two-sided limit depends on the results of the two one-sided limits. They match each other here. The two-sided limit will be that same result, and it will be a negative infinity. There's the results of the three different limits.